what an opportunity. I am Amanda Schuss with the Ballantyne Business Center, and I am the first Vice Chair for the Ballantyne chapter of the Chamber. And it is my honor and privilege to introduce our speaker, Ned Curran, the President and CEO of the Bissell Companies, and my boss. So tell him how good I am.
I knew it was going to be a safe introduction because when you sign her paycheck, you can rest assured it's going to be reasonably safe. I want to echo Todd's comments about the importance of voting. I'm Public Policy Chair for the Chamber, which means I'm all things political. And so I want to formally recognize and congratulate Warren Cooksey on his re-election. He doesn't have to sweat it out next Tuesday night because he defeated his opponent in the primary handedly. And Warren, congratulations. Part of the reason is because he's so engaged. You see him at every event around the Ballantyne area. And the same can be said for Mr. Tim Morgan, who does have to sweat out next Tuesday night. He's running at large for the school board. Charlotte would be better and the school board would be better if on Wednesday morning Mr. Morgan is on the school board at large. Now, I'm not allowed to endorse any candidates because of my role at the Charlotte Chamber, so don't mistake that for an endorsement, but let me just repeat, Charlotte would be better Wednesday morning. So good luck to you. I'm going to talk a little bit about Ballantyne, some of the things that are happening in your area. And in doing so, I also just want to acknowledge that this area chapter didn't exist 15 years ago when we broke ground on the first building. Because I'm on the executive board of the Chamber, I get to go to all the area chapter events, and I get to see all of them, and I can tell you hands down, unabashedly, that I'm very proud to be associated with this chapter. It is the best chapter, and I'll ask the Chamber folks to put their, but it is hands down the best chapter, and I'm very proud of you. And Todd, to you and to the board here, you've done a great job, and it shows in all the activities. So let's give them a round of applause. So I'm going to talk a little bit about the area. I'm going to talk about some gee-whiz facts about this area that you may or may not be aware of. I'll talk about some of the projects that we're involved in as it relates to roads and some of our construction activities. And then I'll do a quick little look back, and then any questions that you might have, I'd be happy to answer those questions. So first, in thinking about our area from the Bissell organization's perspective, we think about where we came from. Our company's been in existence for about 50 years, and we cut our teeth in the South Park area. And so when Smoky Bissell started developing in South Park some 50 years ago, it wasn't much further along than when we really started in earnest in Ballantyne 15 years ago. Today, when people look back on multi-decades of experience at South Park, it's recognized as one of the most stable real estate sub-markets in the United States. So if you're an investor in real estate in South Park, it's been a good run. The demographics of South Park, there's a reason why South Park Mall has some of the most high-end retail in the country. It's because the demographics are pretty strong. So when you look at this next slide that contrasts the zip code that Ballantyne is in to the zip code of South Park, and you think that 15 years ago there wasn't anything here in Ballantyne, it's remarkable to see that you actually have a higher per capita income and a higher net worth per household in Ballantyne today than you do in South Park. And you also see that the percentage of folks that have a college education is higher than South Park, which when we talk about some of the success factors of why office has been successful here, a big part of it is because there's a higher concentration of college educated people that are here than in other parts of the city. Now, the ladies in the office noted that the age of the average female is higher than the average age of the males, and I think they just decided that times have changed and now it's the men who are lying about their age when it comes to these types of things. When I talk about things like roads, we start off by talking about an effort that we undertook earlier this year, which was to engage in a public-private partnership with the city and the county for something we call tax increment financing. What that really means is we'll invest our private money in public assets, in this case roads, and if we build the tax base up fast enough, we may get our money back in a period of time. That's called tax increment financing. But it's a broader part of a subject called public public-private partnerships. And I don't know if the cat did this intentionally, making the government arm a little bit bigger and a little bit larger there, Warren, but this is something that it was very important to us, not just to achieve it for the Ballantyne area, but to create a template, a roadmap that others could follow. And so we worked in earnest with the city legal staff and the county's legal staff to come up with an agreement that others could mimic, others could replicate, hopefully so that other projects like this can go forward. We all know that we're in fiscally challenging times. We know that those fiscally challenging times have now hit our government at the local and at the state and even at the federal level. So we're going to need this tool to get certain infrastructure projects done in the next decade. And so we put a lot of effort into this, but you should know that the city staff and the elected officials at both the city and the county level work very hard on this as well so that it could be used as a template. You'll hear more of these types of opportunities throughout the city, throughout the region, throughout the state actually, I think in the years ahead, because for us to get the vital infrastructure we need, we're going to need these types of arrangements going forward. So in talking about roads, I'm going to talk about specific projects. I know not all of you drive on some of the roads I'm going to talk about. I'm going to go through it kind of quickly, but it's more about the spirit of how things can get done in the area. And every project I talk about is going to be confined to this area here between Ballantyne Commons Parkway to the south and I-45 to the north. That's what we refer to as Ballantyne Corporate Park, 535 acres. And the TIF deal, the tax increment financing deal, is really related to these key areas for road improvements. And these are areas or intersections that if you work or live in this area, 22 hours out of the day, it's not too bad. 2 hours out of the day in the AM peak and the PM peak, it can be a little bit challenging in some of these intersections. And so what we looked to do was to improve these intersections and to do it not just to solve today's problems, but also to build the capacity for challenges that might come in the next 10 to 15 years in these areas. And so with that, the first main project is right out here at this intersection here. This is the intersection of Johnson Road and Ballantyne Commons Parkway. And if you're in the afternoon, if you're trying to make a right onto Johnson Road because the interstate, it backs up pretty good. So what we're going to do is we're going to lengthen the lane for storage capacity of vehicles and add a second lane. So many, many more vehicles will be able to get through with the traffic signal in the phasing of that scheme. The next project, this is a rather substantial project. This is the intersection of Brixham Hill, John J. Delaney, and Highway 521 to Johnson Road. So if you know where the Petro Express is, or the Wells Fargo Branch Bank, the Staybridge Suites Hotel, this is that area. What you may not know is this has been, for the last several years, one of the top 5 intersections in the city for traffic accidents. Now, fortunately, it's not a high injury rate, but there's a heck of a lot of accidents that occur where people are just struggling to get out because traffic is backed up. So this is going to be a rather innovative solution where today, if you're on John J. Delaney, you just drive straight through that park road past Staybridge. This is going to be modified so that you now have to stop when you come to the intersection of Brixham Hill, and it'll be the Brixham Hill traffic that'll flow straight through to Johnson Road. At the Petro Express and the Wells Fargo today, one of the bigger challenges is where traffic tries to cross. That's now going to be barred by a barrier, so you're not going to be able to have cross traffic, so you'll have to make a right out only if you're coming out of the Petro, or a right out only if you're coming out of Wells Fargo. So when we look at our vendors and our customers that are along Common Circle, like the Starbucks or the CVS drugstore, one of the questions is, are they going to be harmed by this inability to turn left when you're coming into the park? But it turns out there's really 4 different alternative access methods to get to any of those retailers, and these color codes here identify those 4 different access points. And in the end, the fact that people are going to feel safer coming out of that intersection, coupled with these 4 ways to get in, we think is going to make it a much better situation and resolve a heavy traffic congestion area.